I think he's a special player. I think that he's going to be one of the kind and one of the that's going to be remembered forever.
When the reigning 3-time MVP, who himself can be labeled a unicorn, calls someone one of a kind, you know there's something extraordinary going on. Victor Wembanyama arrived to the NBA with mountains of hype and somehow still managed to be even better than advertised. Not only that, but he's on pace to becoming the GOAT of basketball, so let's break it all down. By the time Wemby's rookie season ended, it was clear he had already begun rewriting the record books. He wasn't just the first rookie to put up 1,500 plus points, 700 plus rebounds, 250 plus assists, 250 plus blocks, and 100 plus three-pointers in a single season. He was the first player in NBA history, period. That alone would have been a jaw-dropper, but he also became the only rookie ever to land on the all-defensive first team. Suddenly, it felt like no aspect of the game was off limits to him. He blocked shots, hit threes, orchestrated offense, and anchored the defense like he'd been doing it for a decade. The hype was immediate, and so were the comparisons. Wemby might be most similar to Giannis Antetokounmpo. However, even that is really a stretch, as Wemby is years ahead of where Giannis was in his first season. Plus, I guess the whole point is that in the history of the NBA, there hasn't been a player like Wembanyama, and there's a reason he's called the Alien. But okay, what about the idea of Wemby becoming the greatest to ever do it? Let's compare Wemby to a man who's essentially on the top of most people's GOAT list, Michael Jordan. First of all, can we agree that we are comparing apples to oranges here? Or in other words, a shooting guard who didn't really shoot from deep in the 1980s to a 7'4" center who mostly plays out on the perimeter in the modern era. Also, MJ did spend 3 years in college before joining the NBA, whereas Victor came in from Europe at the age of 19. Anyways, his first season, MJ erupted for over 28 points per game, shot above 50%, and came in ready to dominate from day one. His second year, he almost didn't play due to an injury, and by year 3, he was dropping 37 a night. That's a legendary leap. Wembanyama, on the other hand, finished his rookie campaign at 21 and 10 with over 3 blocks. And this year he's upped his output to around 25 points, 11 rebounds, and nearly 4 blocks. Sure, Wemby is not averaging 37, but his output on both ends of the floor is much greater. If he follows a trajectory anything like Jordan's early years, we might be talking about one of the most complete two-way forces the league has ever seen. If we're strictly talking about hype, LeBron is a closer parallel. He had the weight of an entire franchise dumped on his shoulders from day one. And so did Wemby. Yet if you compare their actual skill sets as rookies, they are worlds apart. LeBron in 03-04 was an 18-year-old playing nearly 40 minutes a night, averaging 21 points, 6 assists, but shooting under 42%. Wemby, on the other hand, was playing under 30 minutes per game, yet still put up a slightly higher scoring average and made a much bigger mark on the defensive end. Wemby's true shooting was notably higher, and although he is technically a big, he already showed off a perimeter game that a teenage LeBron didn't really have. Add in the fact that Wemby's blocking nearly 4 shots per game, and it's obvious their early dominance is vastly different. The real kicker is that Wemby is still basically a work in progress physically. LeBron arrived in the league a physical force of nature. Jordan, on the other hand, famously added muscle to handle the Pistons and reached his peak in just a few seasons. Victor might still be a year, 2, or even more away from that grown man's strength. He's already a mismatch nightmare, blocking shots and draining threes like a stretch forward. Tack on another 15 pounds of muscle and you get something that even 2K cannot replicate. And to be honest, they cannot replicate him already. The scariest part of Wembanyama's game is how he influences the game defensively. On average, opponents are shooting roughly 67 or 68% in the restricted area league-wide. But when Wemby's guarding the paint, that figure drops to below 47%. That's an absurd dip of 20%. Teams also take fewer shots at the rim overall when he's on the floor, which underscores how he's affecting offensive decision making. It's not just the blocks, it's the intimidation factor. This legendary clip comes to mind right away.
And the Grizzlies force a turnover.
Here's a run out by Pippen.
Drop off Laravia.
Sure, Jordan was an elite defender in the late 80s and early 90s, averaging over 2 steals and up to 1.5 blocks some seasons. And sure, we all have LeBron's legendary chase down blocks stuck in our memory, but neither of them were erasing half of the league's layups the way Wembanyama is right now. His offense is just as startling. In his first 100 games, Wemby sank 225 threes, which is more than what Stephen Curry had at the same checkpoint in his career. It's a different era for sure, but it shows that this kid is special on the perimeter. If you want a more recent reference, even Trae Young, who's had the green light since day one to shoot threes, didn't match Wemby's early 3-point numbers. That's insane for a 7'4" shot blocker. He also joined Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, and Dwight Howard as one of the few players ever to register 30 points and 10 blocks, but doing it at a younger age than any of them. And this isn't just stat stuffing in meaningless games. Against top 6 seeds across both conferences, Wemby's averaging 25 points, 13 boards, and 4 blocks. One of the biggest statements so far was his matchup with Giannis, where he blocked the former MVP twice in the opening minutes and ended the game with 30 points, 14 rebounds, and 6 blocks. On Christmas Day, Wembanyama poured in 42 points, 18 rebounds, 6 threes, 4 blocks, and 4 assists against the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. That nearly broke the Spurs' franchise record for points on Christmas Day. Only Will Chamberlain and Tracy McGrady have posted more points in their first Christmas appearance. To be honest, Chris Paul summed it up best.
We expect that from him.
Part of that potential hinges on the fact he is a San Antonio Spur. Unlike young LeBron, who had minimal roster help in Cleveland, Wemby's got solid veterans like Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes. Plus, there's the up-and-coming pieces like Jeremy Sohan, Devin Vassell, and Stephon Castle. Finally, there's the recent addition of De'Aaron Fox, who can push the tempo and unlock even more fast break opportunities for Wemby. We'll have to wait and see what chemistry these two develop, but I can't imagine them evolving the pick and roll, pick and pop game to a super high level. In any case, Wemby's got himself a young star in his prime for at least this and next season. And that's huge because unlike LeBron or even Jordan in his early Bulls days, Wemby doesn't have to do it all by himself. He's free to experiment and grow without burning out. Listen guys, players this complete, this early are basically mythical. LeBron changed the game as a do-it-all forward. Jordan changed it with his unprecedented scoring and defense, and Wemby is fusing aspects of both while standing 6 or 7 inches taller. He is already changing norms on both the offense and defense, and he's nowhere close to his physical peak. Now, just for fun, I used the power of ChatGPT and ran some numbers on how Wembanyama's career might shape out. That's if he avoids major injuries and plays close to 18 seasons, which is already an optimistic projection for a guy standing at 7'4". Keep in mind the longest career for a legit 7'4" player belongs to Rick Smith, who lasted 12 seasons. Going to 18 would break new ground, but everything about Wembanyama screams uncharted territory. AI spat out some crazy predictions. Around 37,500 career points, which is top 5 all time, over 4,500 blocks, enough to claim the #1 spot, and a few MVPs and DPOIs coming along the way. That's basically Dirk's longevity meets Shaq's paint presence with a dash of KD's perimeter game and paint protection that is one of a kind. And sure, it's all very hypothetical, but it's fun. So, is it premature to crown him? Definitely. But the fact we're asking that question while Jordan and LeBron remain the gold standard tells you everything you need to know about Victor Wembanyama's trajectory. Let me know in the comments, do you see Wemby as a legit future GOAT, or am I too caught up in the hype? Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more, and also check out Spurs' genius plan to develop Wemby's game.